All right, guys, welcome to today's stream. We've got Dwayne Cameron here and Eric Coley. Dwayne from Liqwid Finance and Eric Coley from Indigo Protocol. And I'll let them introduce themselves, but I'm happy to have them on. It's a great day for Cardano and how the market's been going. So our timing here couldn't be better to talk about some
Right.
Cardano and decentralized finance. And I'll let you guys kind of give a little introduction for yourselves.
Sure, yeah. Dwayne, go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. Dwayne Cameron, founder of both Indigo and Liqwid. Today we're all talking about Indigo and synthetic assets on Cardano. Excited to be here, Rand. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. Dwayne, everybody knows you. You need no introduction, my friend. Eric Coley, also co-founder Indigo. Very happy to be here. Super exciting day, kind of up and down day, but that's the world of crypto, right? So here we are.
Yeah. It's interesting to see the tweet from Elon and talking about, proof of work and ESG, and here we are. We've been talking about Cardano, and I saw a tweet, what happens to be the highest proof of stake market cap right now is Cardano. So it kind of justifies all the hard work and everything we've all been saying for months now, a little bit, which is really interesting. What's been going on with Indigo Protocol here? Tell me what we're building. What's going on?
We've been in this. So I was going to say, we've been in the shadows a little bit, and we over the last month or so, definitely coming out more public as we have more product to show. So there was a while there where we were certainly a live team building, but definitely we're being a little bit more discreet with the fact that we were present. So Dwayne, you can expand.
Yeah, and just to follow up on your point, Rand, the whole Elon thing, it's like, it goes to show how far we have to go still. I mean, honestly, how far we've come in terms of a company like Tesla holding even Bitcoin and crypto on their balance sheet and now looking to expand that. When you look at the last line of that comment, talking about greener cryptos like Cardano, like some of these third gen blockchains. But Indigo is really trying to take a shot at putting real world assets, stocks, commodities, ETFs, these things on the blockchain and using oracles and smart contracts to read the prices of those, so that anyone who has a Cardano wallet and ADA can get exposure to these things in a pretty efficient way. Right now, what you see actually is a lot of other centralized exchanges, the Binances, the FTXs. I'm sure we'll see Coinbase with an offering soon for things like, Apple stock or Tesla stock on their platform. But Indigo is really trying to separate, what we do. And the reason me and Eric co-founded this protocol was to think about, hey, how can we build a system that's completely decentralized, open source, and allows these assets to flow, not just, staying on the Indigo protocol, but to flow to any DEX that's on Cardano for any user to be able to hold in their wallet in a fully transferable way. And that's kind of the real inspiration and vision behind the system.
Indeed.
And this is expanding on the derivatives market, which I don't think many people understand how big that market is.
Yeah.
Explaining I guess if you're looking at the gold market for Bitcoin, you're looking at 11 trillion, and you look at the traditional finance and derivatives market, it's exponentially larger in that sense.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. And the thing is, the ability to put these things on the blockchain is actually really kind of new. When you look at the protocols who are doing it at scale today, you have Synthetics, you have UMA, you have, Mirror on Cosmos. But outside of that, you don't really have too many other protocols that are doing this or have, really figured this out in a way that's efficient, robust, and can scale on chain. The thing about Ethereum is just it's too damn expensive to use, right? Dog coins can take that chain to its knees, right? And the same thing for Binance Smart Chain, right? In some aspects. So what we're trying to do is actually say, hey, we're building on a chain that's one, very super ultra hard decentralized, and we know that Cardano is right now. When you just look at the number of stake pool operators alone. And two is hey, this thing is a predictable, deterministic blockchain that you can use into the future and it's going to scale. I was on a call this morning with one of the Plutus product leads and just hearing them talk about Hydra, which no one even knows or talks about yet. But essentially, it's going to take Cardano transaction fees to damn near zero, right? So it's just Solana and Matic and some of these other chains that, in my opinion, do a trade-off and sacrifice decentralization in the case of Solana because you need hardware to run the full node. In the case of Matic, or Polygon now, because it's a layer 2 solution that's not really, getting the full decentralization that you get from a layer 1 chain. you're giving up something to get something else, in this case, low transaction fees. With Cardano, you're actually saying that you're going to get it all, and it's going to be rolled out in these layers, and a very systematic approach to doing that, saying, hey, you don't need to have ledger-based starting until you have certain things put in place, like a robust DeFi ecosystem that's taken off, and millions of users essentially using these protocols every day to do transactions and to do different DeFi things. So yeah, we're really excited to build this on Plutus, build it right the first way. We have a super committed and passionate team that's been hacking at this thing for the last few months. And to Eric's point, I'm actually really happy that we've taken the route of being a little more discreet and just ultra focusing on the product before we wanted to come out and be super public with our plans and our ideas. To me, one thing I've learned, starting with Liqwid and just really working with the whole entire Cardano community and going through the whole Catalyst process, it pays in many ways to have a product that you're damn near ready to put out there, an MVP app, before you go public with all of these things. It just allows you to move a lot quicker. It allows you to make design decisions that are going to affect the protocol in a way that you can fully test and simulate, and not have to say, okay, we wanted to do it this way, but because of Cardano's setup and this extended UTXO model, we actually have to do things this way. When we put things out for Indigo, users can feel really confident that this is the right way. We've tested this, we've modeled this, and we know that this is the exact model that we're going to use going forward. And that's why we haven't done certain things and put certain things out there up until this point.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, to double back to DeFi and just everything in general, right? So it's exciting to be, DeFi is relatively new to the landscape as it is with regards to blockchain and crypto. And however, synthetics and derivatives are very, very niche within the DeFi space, which is already niche within the whole landscape itself. So we certainly identified that and wanted to fill that need because we certainly see the growth potential in it, and we're just getting started. So
I've looked at these a little bit myself, like M Apple or like MQQQ and things like that, and I didn't really what are some of the risk? What's the risk profile with holding something like that in your portfolio? With it being a synthetic, do you have any rights to the actual underlying, the dividends or anything like that?
No, that's a great question, Rand.
Yep.
You're not getting access to the underlying. You're getting price exposure to that asset as it moves up or down, right? The risk of holding it is essentially saying you can get liquidated, right? If your position is going against you, right? There's real market risk that exists anytime you open a CDP. And that's the main risk that minters in our system will have to be able to manage, build strategies to mitigate and things like that. To your point about getting, access to the dividends and things that come with, traditional ownership of equities, you don't get that even in FTX or in some of these other places like Binance that do things like, a centralized custodian version of synthetic assets. So I think that it's okay that in a decentralized environment, you're really just offering the trader price exposure and exposure to that underlying without the full ownership of, hey, you get the dividends, hey, you get the governance right that comes to having ownership of the actual stock itself. And in many ways, it's a liability for us. It's a regulatory risk, right? We don't,
absolutely,
nothing that Indigo Labs is doing is actually touching any of these stocks. We're simply using oracles and a set of smart contracts on Plutus mainnet to allow exposure to these assets.
Yeah. And I think to expand on that too, it's important to note that for our followers and users, eventual users of our platform, we are fully protected. We have the right legal counsel. So it's something that I think if I'm a user of another platform, I want to know that team has taken and invested in the right efforts to ensure they're doing things the right way from a legality perspective, because that whole landscape itself and regulatory oversight is changing all the time in the whole space, especially in the DeFi space. And those are certainly things that we're cognizant of and that are at really the forefront of what we're doing as far as kind of how we want to be protected. So people should rest assured that we're good to go there for sure.
Absolutely. And Eric, I know before we hopped on stream, you said you were from Texas, and Dwayne, I know you're mobile right now. This is going to be a US based entity, or I guess is there an entity behind it? How does all that work with the protocol?
Yeah, good question. So it is a US based entity. So trust that we are complying with all the US regulatory oversight that we are aware of at this point. Even though that's going to change, we have the right firm and team representing us to ensure that we can flex with that oversight change and regulatory change. But you know, Wyoming is the I guess the sandbox, if you will, of fintech. So that's where our entity is based. That's Indigo Labs. That is the IP owner, if you will, of Indigo Protocol.
Yeah, and just to expand on that, Wyoming is becoming really the heart of where all fintech, blockchain, crypto startups are going to be located. When you look at what they're doing and some of the laws that they've put in place, not just from a tax perspective, but actually, like Eric said, from a regulatory sandbox, allowing companies to come in, innovate, allow new business models to take off, new fintech products and services that maybe couldn't operate in places like New York or even Delaware, really. Wyoming is saying, hey, we're a home for you. You guys can set up here for 2 years and actually be able to innovate before we, start to clamp down and say, hey, what is the actual underlying service or product that your fintech startup is providing in this environment, right? So Wyoming is actually becoming, in my opinion, a very innovative state for any crypto startup, DeFi fintech focused. Yeah.
Didn't University of Wyoming, aren't they staking Cardano?
Yeah, I think they are actually. So,
yeah. Here we're in a friendly state. We're launching in a friendly state for sure, or have launched. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And how are you guys? Is there going to be a token with Indigo Protocol or anything like that?
Yes, there is going to be a token. There's going to be a governance utility token that if you have LP tokens minted on a DEX because you've minted some assets and then you went to that DEX and provided liquidity, you can take your LP tokens and actually stake them on the Indigo Protocol smart contracts, and you'll be able to yield that governance token and use it in governance and all things that you would anticipate a traditional governance token like a SNX or the mirror governance token that's tied to that protocol to give you. We're still working out the fine details of the tokenomics, and we'll definitely release plenty of Medium articles and plenty of LE5s and content around that when it's ready. But yeah, rest assured, there certainly will be a governance utility token and a set of incentives tied to that for users.
Yeah, that's the Indy token, by the way. So
the Indy token, awesome. I love the name actually.
Yeah.
I'm in Cincinnati. I'm right near Indianapolis.
There you go. There you go.
Nice.
And so, with all this coming, when do you expect smart contracts? Just from a perspective of you guys building on Cardano, when are you expecting smart contracts and all this stuff to kind of be able to hit?
Good question.
That's the great question, $1 million question. We're in lockstep with IOHK though, so. When they're ready, we're ready. I think everyone's hoping. It's been hinted to August for Alonzo. If that's the case, that's when we go. If it gets pushed for whatever reason, we push. So, but hopefully, if things go as planned and IOHK delivers to their hints anyway, sounds like August.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, we have a public testnet that should hit before the end of this month, hopefully, knock on wood. And at that time, we'll be able to release some of our early contracts and a beta app, if you will, get early users in there on Cardano testnet wallets and just, really trying to hack through the system and use all our contracts and get early users who are power users engaged in the system. We're really trying to get that out there as soon as possible. But again, it's somewhat dependent on what IOHK's timeline is for releasing these things to public.
Understood. And being somebody who was in a little bit of an exploit and things like that, what do we what about oracles, stuff like that, certifications or audits or anything like that? Anything in the works like that you can talk about?
Yeah. We've secured Twig, which is an expert Haskell firm, to do the security audit. We have Kakai Solutions, who are the core devs working on this protocol, and they're very much security focused first. It's something that we take very seriously. Capital preservation is the main goal of a system like this. And like you said, Rand, you're relying on oracles and you're relying on that oracle mechanism to be very robust and secure, to be able to handle things like constant price updates for all of these different trading pairs and assets. So essentially, this is a step process. First is product development. the thing that we're in right now, deep building out the contracts, building out the Oracle mechanism. Next is really pushing that through beta apps and iterations of that beta app. But by the time we get to that third or fourth testnet app release is when we're really going to say, hey, Twig, we're ready to engage in the security audit. We're ready for you guys to come in and really head to toe, look at everything we've put together so far and tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly so we can clean this thing up before it ever sees the light of mainnet, really.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, to have those things done beforehand and kind of before mainnet and everything like that.
Sure. Well, and it's an expense too. It's an expense to the business. It's a significant one, but it's a worthy one. So we want to make sure that we, are working with the brightest and the best to ensure they identify and expose anything wrong in our protocol that needs to be fixed. So we're confident in Twig. I think they're a known brand amongst Haskellers and people with regards to Plutus. So we're excited to have been, secured with them and working with them, a relationship with them now for a span of months, so that when the time comes, we're ready for them to work with us pretty quickly on auditing our protocol. So
that's awesome. That's good to hear. And like when it comes to these synthetics and things like that, like people are going to be able to trade them on other dexes. They're going to be like fully exchangeable everywhere once you've minted them, correct?
Yep. They can be held in any Cardano wallet, traded, provided as LP. So if you want to take them to a dex and go 50% ADA, 50%, I asset, or 50% some stable coin, 50% I asset, you'll be able to LP those on any dex on Cardano. Provided that these dexes have high liquidity, that these dexes have true users and monthly active users over a certain threshold, so that we can say that we're on the top 2 or 3 most liquid dexes that are live on Plutus, essentially.
Do you think there'd be like a chance for arbitrage, like between a traditional market or other synthetics and then like a synthetic on Cardano? Like, let's say I had Apple stock, and then could I play the synthetics in the crypto market? Like, how does that? What are some options for people to be using these? Like, why would somebody in, I guess, the developed world want to use this, and then also I guess somebody in the non-developed world want access to it?
Yeah, when we think of the key user, actually, it's really not someone in the developed world, because when you really think about it, we have Robinhood in the U.S. We have access to fractional stocks and equities already, but when you're talking about users around the world, it's actually not that simple to get access, to equities in the U.S. markets. It's not that simple to be able to hold these things and have them traded 24/7. These are very kind of fractionalized markets and ways to get exposure to these things if you're not a U.S. citizen, essentially. So this is actually who we're building this protocol for. Is the thought that Cardano is going to be a global blockchain. It already is a global network, and the user base for this is going to be much wider than just your average US, trader, essentially. And for them, it's really saying, hey, I want exposure to the price of Tesla going up or down. I want exposure to the price of Amazon. This is how I can efficiently do that and understand that this is completely decentralized. This is completely non-custodial. I'm never trusting a centralized exchange to hold my funds for me. I can move this, to any different DEX. I can sell this token. I can, mint an inverse of this and do very kind of sophisticated trades that you really wouldn't be able to do even if you were just a US trader using a platform like FTX or Binance, for example. So there's reasons why both a US trader would want to use this from a decentralized, fully transferable, non-custodial aspect. If those things matter to you, and if you've ever been on an exchange, you understand that exchanges have real risks that are tied to them as well. Exchanges it doesn't happen every day, but these exchanges can default and go bankrupt as well and cease to exist. So there's a real risk to any user, in the US or other, who's using a centralized exchange for things like synthetic assets. But for users around the world, that's our real key value user, because they have really today no access to get price exposure to these equities.
Yeah, and look at GameStop with Robinhood, right? I mean, or you can be shut off if you're on a centralized exchange, right? So this is what we're protecting users from by offering a fully decentralized protocol, and it opens up the access. I mean, that's really the essence of this and why I'm doing this personally. It opens up the access to these kinds of financial assets for the several billion people in this world who wouldn't otherwise have access to it. that's hugely important when we're talking about the next decade of wealth distribution from the developed world to the developing world. So that is a huge personal priority for me. So
100%.
Makes a lot of sense, and some people in America might not realize, but synthetics are used every day in Europe for people to get exposure to American stocks and things like that, depending
sure.
on tax reasons and stuff like that.
Or what if I want Alibaba stock? So
Right.
It's the same.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 100%. It goes the opposite way, right? If I'm in the US and I want exposure to Chinese stocks, that's equally as hard as being a Chinese citizen who wants access to, you know, the price of Apple or Amazon. So it really does go both ways when you really consider it. And the markets are so globalized these days that you do need a system that can 24/7 allow exposure to any asset, equity, commodity that the user chooses, right?
Yeah. So enter the decentralized world and synthetics, right? So here we are.
Yeah, this is great. So great question from chat here. How do you create a synth that's not currently available in the protocol? Does it have to be approved through a governance proposal like by indie holders?
Yep, that's a great question, and that's exactly it. So basically, there's a process of governance tied to the indie token. Users can propose new assets to be, you know, supported essentially by the protocol. They'll be voted on yay nay by all the indie holders. If you know a certain threshold is met and 51% of those votes say yes, then that asset's going to be listed, and then users can come along, take their Cardano stablecoin, and mint that asset and have exposure to that asset essentially.
And we're constantly looking at that too. Our whole, you know, our team is going to be looking at all of the assets really holistically and ensuring that we're providing our users anything and everything that they would want. But I'm sure there's going to be things that we don't have available on our protocol that will be presented by the user community, and we'll certainly it's up to governance, like Dwayne said. So but we're going to be we'll be trying to lead the charge in that regard of having anything and everything available that you would want. So
I think who's done a really good job of that is SBF with FTX and like throwing Lumber's futures on immediately.
Sure,
and, like,
exactly.
all the synthetic stuff he throws on, whatever's hot on Twitter, you know, he gets up immediately, which is funny, you know.
Yeah,
How about
100%.
lumber? The price of lumber has just, I mean, I think a sheet of OSB, for those who know what that is, particle board was $8 not that long ago. Now it's at $45 a sheet. So if you're building a home right now, ouch.
I have a screened in patio that I'm trying to get glassed in, like reframed and glassed in, probably 10 windows, 14 by 24. Had a couple guys come over to give me estimates. They all told me like 45,000. And I was like, what? That's like half of what I paid for this 4-bedroom, you know, 2-bath house. What are we talking about here? Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah, man, that's wild. Actually, it's funny. Mirror Protocol listed lumber too, and they had coin. You know, the day that Coinbase basically went public. So yeah, it's actually really cool to see. You know, SBF is a beast, and I love super impressive things that he does with FTX, and he's always innovating in the product game. But it's super cool to see that you can do these things in a decentralized way at scale as well. And we take a lot of inspiration from those guys. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know they did that. That's good to know as well, you know. A good question from Rodney, and shout out Nacho for the last question. He said, what's your source code and what platform is it written on?
Okay, so our source code is right now in GitLab. We haven't open sourced anything yet, and we'll start to do that iteratively as we come out with, you know, the first testnet app release. You'll see the first contracts being made open source. Before even that, you'll see our white paper, our technical documentation being made public. So it's a rolling process, right? But yeah, we have, you know, devs at Kakai Solutions, and you can check out our website and see what the lead dev is all about. Hai is definitely a very dedicated and Haskell fanboy, self-proclaimed, and he definitely focuses on writing very clean, secure, you know, Haskell code. And he's been working on Haskell apps for the last 5 to 8 years, and he's already one of the top contributors to the IOHK Plutus repo on GitHub. So rest assured, in due time, everything will be made open source and available. Any user will be able to look at the source code.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, because I feel like a lot of projects have been popping up, like Cardano related with ERC20 tokens, and they haven't had like any inroad with any Cardano people that I've seen publicly. Like, are we seeing like a wave with Cardano's, you know, like kind of come up of a lot of imitators coming in? And like, how can people protect themselves from that? with what we've seen.
So I'm just going to take a stab, and Eric, you could please follow up. As someone who's kind of been in this Cardano space since 2017, I was here when like you got laughed at if you were even holding ADA, right? Much less being, I'm not even kidding, like much less being like a stake pool operator or like being a protocol architect like Eric and myself are essentially filling the role of right now. But what's happening now is actually all of these protocols, some already built and deployed on Ethereum, you know, Cosmos, Polkadot, other blockchains, are all either building their version of a bridge or a port. And you're hearing all these like buzzwords, right? We're going to migrate, that's the famous one, to Cardano.
Sure.
And I'm not saying it's not going to happen, right? But what I am saying is, why not just build it on Plutus and this concrete, stable platform that IOHK has essentially focused the last 5 years, really more than that, 6 now, since 2015, building out with the, you know, founder of Haskell essentially at the helm of. Why are you even trying to say we're going to go this ERC20 route, make our users get a MetaMask, pay these absurd transaction fees just to get sandwich attacked on ETH so that they can, you know, get liquidity to our token and trade it on Uniswap? Like, to me, there's so much more merit in a team that's focused on product and building in Plutus the right way, because those teams are actually here for the long game. Like, those teams see the big picture. Those teams see what's coming in the next few months and are going to be ready for that way more than one of these teams talking about, you know, bridging or migrating their platform over to Cardano. So that's my take on it. I do respect every single person who's building in this Cardano space. I don't want to ever knock anyone because that's like not my place at all. And, you know, everyone starts somewhere and I respect it. But I do want to encourage, like, if you're building a DeFi protocol on Cardano, you know, one, reach out to us. Eric and myself are always happy to share our experience, you know, our insights that we've gained and gleaned over since being in this Cardano space, whether it's, you know, as low key and technical as like the things that we're doing in Plutus and the extended UTXO model, or just like engaging the Cardano community, right? And what that process is all about.
Yeah, what a tight-knit community too. I think, you know, to your point, Dwayne, reach out to us, or if not just for advice, how to collaborate, because, you know, I think unlike any other main blockchain, Cardano's community is so tight-knit. Everyone's so passionate about the initiative, and Charles has really blazed the trail in that regard. So kudos to him and Cardano and IOHK. But, you know, for the rest of us that are building in this ecosystem, you know, we're a family, and we all need to coexist, and we need to co-support one another. If one fails, I shouldn't say we all fail by any means, but it's important that we all are successful, so that there is a thriving ecosystem. In many ways, like you see with Ethereum, you know, I think we can all say, you know, we have our differences of opinion of what chain's better and all of this and all that, and that's great, but they have a thriving ecosystem right now. You can't dispute that. And that's what we're trying to replicate in Cardano. And that's what I'm confident we will. So in order to do so, you need community collaboration.
Yeah. And you definitely see it building, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
As somebody who, you know, I've only been in the Cardano world for about a year now, and it's been amazing to just watch the growth of the community and like the YouTube presence and you know, just everybody who's just out there giving as much information as they can, and all the pools popping up has been pretty amazing to watch. And like, I hang out in a lot of like Ethereum DeFi discords and stuff, and it's funny to see all the FUD that all the like Ethereum developers throw out there. They're like, nothing's going on over there, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm watching it. Like, I'm literally like, I have a pool that's operating right now. Like, I'm talking to developers right now with projects that are like, it's funny to me that like, I don't think you can deny it anymore. You know, that denial period is way long gone, you know?
That's just the haters then at this point, right? Because as those of us that are building in this ecosystem, we know what's going on. We have our ears to the ground. We know exactly what's been going on for quite a while now, and we know what's coming. So for those that are out there that are, say, Ethereum maximalists that just want to say nothing's going on Cardano, whatever, we'll show you. So
yeah, nothing could be further from the truth. Honestly, even this morning, I was on a call with, I won't say their name out of respect for privacy, but a top 10 Ethereum DeFi team, right? And these guys know about Cardano. They know about Plutus. They know all about the extended UTXO model and what it's all about. And, even they're trying to think about what does it look like to build our contracts, our Solidity EVM accounts model contracts in this Cardano Plutus world. Like, do we need to hire some Haskell devs? Like, is Cardano going to get to the point where it's going to demand all these Ethereum DeFi teams to, try to build a bridge the same way you see them start building their bridges to Binance Smart Chain, to Solana, to Polkadot, and things like that? The difference between Cardano and those other blockchains, it all comes down to the way we're doing accounting with this extended UTXO model, and just the fact that the Plutus platform is really Haskell, and you're really talking about functional programming as opposed to imperative programming, which is what most of these other blockchains are kind of built off of. So yeah, I definitely think that that's a myth that every day is being debunked. This idea that nothing is happening or no one's building on Cardano. I mean, we've been here since last year, essentially this summertime, and just building out our math and our formulas and the back end piece of this protocol. And to be honest, the devs have been here even before. When you look at the stake pool operators, I guarantee you most of those stake pool operators are going to come up with something in the NFT, DeFi, dApp space on Cardano. It's just a matter of time, right? It's just a matter of hardening Plutus and getting a public version of the testnet out there. But to say that, that's not happening or no one's building on it, the market at this point is just laughing at them. Really think about it.
It is. Guys, the conversation is not happening right now. It's not happening. It's just
I woke up this morning and went to my favorite DeFi channel where the word Cardano is banned, and just had to say good morning to everybody and just let all the devs know that we're out here. It felt really good. I always they tease me a lot, and today felt really good to just throw it back a little bit and be like, yep. Feels good. Are either of you guys, speaking of which, either of you guys going to be in Miami for the Bitcoin conference and the big conference coming up?
I will be. I'm moving home. Sorry to cut you, Eric. I'll be there. I'm moving back home to Fort Lauderdale at the end of the month. So I think the conference starts June? Isn't it like Memorial Day it starts?
It's like the 4th and 5th, yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
The 3rd is whale day, but I'm not whale enough to get a whale ticket, so.
Oof. Yeah, no, neither. It's up for debate on my schedule. I could have a conflict, but I'm certainly trying to work it in. So,
absolutely, yeah. I think myself, DC. I think Big Pay will be there. It looks like Charles is going to make an appearance there as well. So,
yep, cool. My wife has family in Clearwater too, so that's kind of what we're trying to work out, is if we can make a little bit of a family excursion out of it to say hello to some folks we haven't gotten to see over the last year or so of Wacky World. So
yeah, absolutely. And what are like the stresses like with you guys when it comes to like working on the developing? Like, what's like a day in the life of a developer or somebody running one of these protocols at this time?
Wow, what a question! That's a loaded question, man. Bugs, right? Fixing stuff, not working as planned, or uncovering things that can't work because of where the state of things are. That's what I would say. Dwayne, what do you have?
Yeah, I would say the same. And honestly, sometimes it's the opposite, right? Sometimes it's breakthroughs. Sometimes it's, okay, we have this, new version of PAB, Plutus application backend, that does things a little differently and maybe a little more efficiently than what the first version did. Or, we found out that we can use these redeemer values in Plutus to do some things like, some of our read-only accounting that we want to emulate from what other blockchains like Ergo are doing with their UTXO model. So it's both like, fixing bugs and issues that come up and arise, as well as, having those like mini breakthroughs. And, we get excited for the breakthroughs, and obviously we try to mitigate and work through those issues and bugs as much as we can, as quickly as we can. But yeah, it's definitely like every day is an exciting day. Every day is a new journey.
Sure. I'll tell you what, though, too, is every day, I'm more and more enthused and blown away by the guys we have. When you first start building relationships with guys like core devs that you've hired on and brought on to be your team, that's all a relationship building process, right? And every day, Dwayne and I are talking with one another about how impressed we are with the guys we have that are really just grinding 24/7. So it's a good time to say kudos to them. We're not one of the DeFi protocols at all that is trying to be mysterious any longer or hide who we are. So you can see who our team is behind or on our website. And there's more people behind them supporting them for sure. But kudos to them because they're really grinding. And yeah, it's all about them. So
100%.
That's awesome. And Rodney with a good question again from our exploit yesterday. Are you guys looking at Chainlink oracles to protect your LP stake pools? Is that a standard?
Yeah, so the oracles are so not for the LP stake pool. The oracles are actually for like the assets, like the product itself, like minting these different assets on Indigo. And the oracle mechanism probably won't be Chainlink. It'll probably be a Plutus smart contract that's using like an endpoint to pull in the price of these things from Wolfram Alpha or some other trusted source. If it's a crypto, you can use something like Coinbase or Binance's APIs to be able to pull that in. If it's like a true like ETF or a commodity or something like that, you need to use like a Wolfram Alpha or some other trusted Oracle service provider. Not so sure we're going to use Chainlink, to be honest. We looked deep into Chainlink back in the day, and their model is just a little it's complicated. Let's just say that, right? To try to bring Chainlink onto Cardano is going to be a heavy lift, mainly because it's not as simple as just the Chainlink ERC20. You actually need to use the Chainlink. I forget the exact name of it. It's like ERC67 something. And you have to have that on your protocol for Chainlink to really work its Oracle mechanism the right way. And there's, to be frank, there's just other ways to securely do oracles that don't involve Chainlink. Like there's very secure DeFi systems operating at scale today that are not using Chainlink. And I'm almost positive that, Liqwid, Indigo, all the dexes on Cardano and Plutus, they won't be using Chainlink either. They'll be using Wolfram Alpha and some other form of it. Probably, some actual exchanges as well, centralized exchanges like Binance and Coinbase, if you're just taking the price of a crypto and doing things that way. You don't need Chainlink to have a secure Oracle mechanism.
Yeah. And then, another exciting evolution in the space too is the indexers. Like on Ethereum, you have the Graph, who's really popular now. So we're looking at all of that. So whether it's the oracles or the indexer capabilities, those are all things that we'll have. So
awesome. That's good to know. I didn't know that much about oracles and how all that works. So, and Link Marines, and we're just gonna dodge some bullets from Link Marines out there, but it is what it is,
Been dodging their bullets since 2019, maybe. I've actually been one of the ones who from the start was like, you actually really don't need Chainlink. And I've talked to the Chainlink guys. I've had calls with them. They're great guys. Like we have deep respect for all the work that they've done. And a lot of very secure, at scale operating protocols in Ethereum use Chainlink. I'm not knocking them at all. But to make the leap, from Chainlink to Cardano, it's just actually very difficult and really not that efficient for what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. Are you what type of a timeline? I guess we're all waiting on IOHK, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah. How do things like Africa and Ethiopia get announced when we don't have smart contracts yet and stuff like that? It's amazing that we're able to lock in deals like that without having the smart contracts yet.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. But as I mentioned earlier, and so did Dwayne, we can go as quickly as they go.
Right.
Every step of progress they make, we're making in lockstep with them. So, there's things that are being disclosed to, the government of Ethiopia with regards to the future of Cardano that aren't disclosed, frankly, even to the projects that are working closely with IOHK. And that's understandable, right? We're talking government contracts versus protocols that are going to be built on a blockchain. So how those deals are made, hey, I just got to trust in Charles and that he's going to lead the way in that regard, right? But I'm glad they are, because it just goes to show really who's focused on empowering and bettering the world. So it's an exciting thing, but we can go as quickly as they go.
Yeah, and also, sorry, go ahead, Rand, please.
I was just gonna say it's such an exciting time. I get impatient,
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
We all are. Trust me. But I was going to say, the reason that IOHK can do those things is it's multiple, right? First principles is what Cardano's all built on, right? Whether it's starting from an academic standpoint and saying, how do you build a blockchain can we build one as secure as Bitcoin? Do we need proof of work? Can we use proof of stake? Like all of these things, there's like 100-page research papers that you can find. Just going to iohk.io/research, and you can see all of the work that they've done in this space. So when you're a government nation state operating at scale, trying to say what's going to be the future of our digital economy, of course you're going to go to the company that's done all this research and has all these high level class researchers and engineers on their team, compared to like something like an Ethereum, even though they've had smart contracts and have been out for so long. And the second thing that the market really hasn't priced in yet, but we all have because we understand what Cardano is doing, it's providing economic identity through using Altala Prism, right? And what is Altala Prism? It's this concept of saying you can have a digital identifier, this Web3 standard for doing digital IDs. Non-sovereign passports is a way to think of them, right? Like a digital non-sovereign passport, essentially. You can put those on a blockchain and issue those to users the same way you issue a Cardano wallet. And all of a sudden, you have not only verifiable IDs on the chain, but you have privacy because Altala Prism uses ZK proofs, meaning I get my identity and I get my privacy in the exact same solution, right? So the reason that Ethiopia, the reason that you see the World Mobile, partnership in Tanzania happening is because you're saying we're building solutions on top of this whole Altala Prism, which is itself a stack that's built on top of Cardano, right? So you're saying all of this is rolled up and bundled into one solution that's a very kind of seamless use case for a nation state to basically entertain and say, hey, we want to run with this thing because we think it's going to be the future of our digital economy. And the use cases are endless. We're in the DeFi space, and we talk to IOHK all the time about now they're talking about RealFi and providing loans in a way that's verifiable using Altala Prism to kind of back them. But we also, there's supply chain management, there's, education and records, there's a whole world of different applications and use cases that you can build on top of Altala Prism. And to me, that's why you're seeing some of these partnerships. To me, I think it's such an iceberg. You're only seeing the tip right now.
Makes a lot of sense. And it's crazy to watch it all expand so fast. Like we've come so far in the past year that I've been watching Cardano. It's like mind blowing to watch everybody's kind of opinion change over the past year.
Not just Cardano, but gosh, I mean, for those of us that have been in the blockchain space for as many years as we have, people thought we were crazy when we were talking about this technology years ago, as I was even, because I've been in the tech industry for 13 plus years now and consulting and enterprise solutions and talking about blockchain ever since I learned about it in 2011 with Bitcoin, and people thought I was nuts, that it was but I mean, look at the evolution now. Look how quickly the adoption's happening. I mean, it's almost every single day we're drinking from the fire hose of adoption here. More and more people, and I've got people that I never even knew were even interested in crypto or blockchain talking about how they just made $5,000 on Dogecoin. So it's like it's a crazy landscape, but it's only the mass adoption's coming. But we're just scratching the surface, like to Dwayne's point. So.
With being in DeFi with both projects, like where do you guys see regulations and like taxes over the next couple of years? Like right now we're in like such a gray area. People are kind of paying, not paying. I'm freaking out to have a meeting with my tax accountant in the next week.
Oh,
geez,
like,
what do you guys, where do you guys see all that with regulation and stuff like that?
Wow, with regulation, again, we have a great firm who's representing us to ensure that we are as tight as we can be with whatever regulation there is. But personally, I would recommend having a good CPA who understands crypto. I personally have one who's here in Austin, Texas, and I'm blessed and fortunate to be protected in that regard because it's changing all the time. I think this year's first or should I say 2020s, what was it, the W-2 or the 1099s, one of the two. One of the very first sections on page 1 is, did you interact in any digital currency? So it's clearly there. It's in their site. So complying with that is very important. If you think you can run from the tax man, you're doing it wrong. So that's not a game I want to play personally, but to each his own. I'm not here to be a financial advisor in that regard. So, or tax advisor, should I say, but.
Yeah, none of this is financial advice, by the way.
Absolutely. None of this is financial advice. And the old saying does go. There's only two things you have to do in life, and that's die and pay taxes. So pay your taxes.
Right.
It's true.
My wife would have a few more things to add on to
that. And like, so that will come with like Autoloprism and identity and things like that. I think it'll help shore up some of that stuff, you know, being able to then link with like tax protocols and stuff like that, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a whole nother area of evolution in the space that, you know, is coming, that is going to be exciting to see, because, you know, there's going to be teams out there that build something innovative. I mean, what have we seen so far in the last year? DeFi, NFTs, and that's where Dwayne and I are like intending to be creative and find these and uncover these ideas to be innovative in the space, because that's really what we need. And we need innovative people, innovative ideas to expand this technology. You know, we had dial-up however many years ago, and now we're all operating on some sort of high-speed fiber optic to the residential residents, right? So that doesn't happen just from one step to the next. You have innovation along the way. So, and that's the same thing here in the blockchain space. So I can only imagine there's going to be tax elements that come in the decentralized world, all of the above.
Yeah, to that point, I think even a Cardano Catalyst project just got funded. Catalyst is like Cardano's on-chain governance mechanism to fund up-and-coming projects on the blockchain. A team is building like a decentralized accounting standard for corporates to basically do and push all of their, you know, books, you know, all of their accounting, you know, activities and tasks onto the chain using a very standardized process and kind of DApp, if you will, is what it will all be rolled up into. So we're already starting to see like the first versions of like decentralized accounting really take off.
And are you guys, like, with the teams you're working with, is it a pretty just decentralized team, and like location wise, is everybody spread out all across the world at this point? How do you guys communicate and keep up? Is that tough in any way, keeping hours?
Slack is bad. Yeah.
Slack and 4 a.m. messages on Slack. So some of us are in America, the rest are in Asia. So yeah, but you know, you keep up with it the way you keep up with it. It's a priority. It's our initiative. So it's, if I got to be up at 3:30 or 4:30, or same with Dwayne or some of our guys in Ohio, and that's just what we're doing.
That's awesome. Do you guys see like a movement, like kind of like a shift of brain power? You know, like you see people moving to Miami, moving to Wyoming.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of that within the team and stuff like that? Everybody's kind of repositioning for better legalities and stuff.
You know, Dwayne, you probably know better than anybody with Liqwid, but Ukraine is a hotbed right now for devs. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, India has always been strong in their development acumen, but yeah,
I think the game is just it's becoming so globalized, right? It's becoming so, and I mean the pandemic and COVID only like really pushed that to the extremes. Like when you talk about like just everyone having to work from home, like it not even being an option. For the developers, they've already been doing that for years, so they're kind of, you know, used to that working environment in many ways. But I definitely think that with the way blockchain and DAOs and crypto are going to take off in the future, you're talking about very distributed teams working from around the world. And to Eric's point, you know, time zones is like the thing now that you always have to manage and like be on top of, because you're never going to always be in the same time zone, right? Like Eric's in Austin, Texas. I'm in Philadelphia right now, right? You know, our core devs are in, you know, Vietnam. So we're really spread and distributed. But if this thing is, you know, the key, and if this thing is the, you know, the most essential thing that's going on in our lives, which at the time it is, you're going to make time for this. You're going to make sure that your time zones and schedules align. Slack's a great tool to be able to kind of manage all of these things and have a, you know, centralized place for all the knowledge and resource sharing and things like that to take place. We're building our community on Discord. You know, we use Twitter extensively to reach out and push things when we're ready to. So there's ways to kind of do this, you know, distributed, I guess, building, if you will, that actually can operate very efficiently, very at scale. And I think that when the DAO takes off, when Indigo's DAO is really a thing, and you have users incentivized to hold Indy, to work for the protocol, to really extend the protocol and build a better, you know, secondary product offering or V2 of the system, then you're saying, you know, the system is even much larger than it is right now with the core devs that we have.
Absolutely. It's amazing to kind of see, and going through COVID, like watching everybody kind of work through it and spread out and be able to work from home is amazing.
Yeah, I've been in a work from home environment for 8 or 9 years, and utilizing the workforce collaboration technology that's been there all along. But to see the push really into that technology, even for my enterprise customers and what I do in side business, was pretty astonishing, because the tech has always been there, but COVID really drove that adoption for businesses who also already had it in many cases. So it was pretty crazy to see.
Yeah, and shout out to IOHK, because they were so ahead of the game on the whole distributed workforce and setting. They've been doing this decentralized workplace from day one, really. So yeah, they're actually, even before the pandemic, they've been on that wave.
Anything we missed about Indigo Protocol or Liqwid?
I think we
questions.
I think we hit a lot. I think this was great, man. This is awesome. Thanks for having us on, Rand.
For sure.
Always happy to answer questions about Indigo. And as we get closer to releasing that first testnet app, you can expect a white paper, technical docs, Medium articles that are really, detailed explainers of the system to start flowing. And again, hit up Eric, hit up myself. We're open, we're transparent. We're always trying to answer questions from the community. So, please feel free to ping us anytime.
That's a good point. Where can everybody find the projects? Where's the best place to get information?
Yeah, so we have a Discord, Indigo. We'll drop the link, invite link, so you can kind of share that with everyone. We're Indigo_protocol on Twitter. Please give us a follow there.
Absolutely.
And, you can follow me on Twitter at DCDoso, DOSO. You can follow Eric on Twitter. You can DM either of us. We're in Discord as well. So we're pretty active users across all these platforms. So please feel free to hit us up.
100%. We have a few of us that are managing the communications, but hat tip to Cody for really being all over the Discord communications. And we're pretty expeditious on the responses. We have a lot of great questions that are coming through. We try to answer them as best as we possibly can and as quickly as we possibly can. So definitely Discord and Twitter for sure.
Awesome. And I just dropped all those links in the chat for anybody who's there, and they'll be in the link of the YouTube video as well. I appreciate you guys coming out. This was a great talk, and we will absolutely, I would love to do this again if we could, as things get closer and new developments happen.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, this was great, man. Thank you.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching the YouTube videos. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, comment down below, help us out with YouTube algorithms, and we're live 5 days a week on Twitch, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. EST. Come check us out. Thanks for watching.